Joining us now to talk a little bit more about the bill is Dan Weiss, Senior Fellow at the Center for American Progress. Also Mike McKenna, Republican strategist and President of MWR Strategies. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
So you heard the President. Mike, do you think this is going to create all of the jobs that the President thinks?
You know, you have a lot of studies out there, EIA, EPA, CBO, that say on net it's a job loser. So no, I don't think so.
You don't think so. Dan?
I would have to disagree. University of California just came out with a study yesterday about the House bill that predicts close to 2 million new jobs. We did a study with the University of Massachusetts, estimates about 1.7 million jobs. These are both, guessworks, but it does say there'll be job creation in things like building wind turbines, putting solar panels on roofs, doing more energy efficiency in buildings. These are good paying jobs in manufacturing and construction.
That will be transitioned from the jobs that will be lost in other industries?
Yes, these are net. Our study, I don't know about the Berkeley study, but our study is net job gain is 1.7 million.
You don't see this kind of transition taking place?
I'm a little concerned that that's the only study I'm aware of that shows a net job gain. It's kind of hard for me to imagine that we're going to use more expensive, less reliable energy, and somehow it's going to be a net plus for the economy.
What do you like about the bill, Mike?
I like its length. It means a lot of work for folks like me.
More than 800 pages. Have you scoured them?
Not all of them, but enough to get a sense.
What works? What's right about it?
That's a tough question. I'm not sure. I'm excited about any of it. I would say I'm glad to see that there's an adaptation section, and it's sort of a recognition that the reality here is if there is a problem, adaptation is probably going to be the closer to the right answer rather than mitigation.
Right. Dan, overall, you like the bill. It's a lot like the House bill.
It is, but it's got some important new features. First, it has incentives to use natural gas in lieu of coal-fired electricity. Now, we believe just putting a price on carbon would help natural gas, but these incentives will give it a boost. Second, it has a limit on the price of pollution allowances or pollution permits, which means that there'll be more assurance for emitters that the price won't go sky high, and it'll make it harder for speculators to manipulate the market.
A lot of blank holes, though, and when it comes to how the allowances will be doled out, when are we going to get the details?
The details will come later this month, but this is an iterative process. Just like on the House side, first you introduce the bill with a few key pieces missing, you have some negotiations, then you introduce the next version with more details, you vote on it in committee, then you're going to get to a bigger negotiation with Senator Reid and other committee chair. So this is an important step in this process.
I mean, some say that's the only way to really get it through the finish line is to leave these placeholders.
Well, I mean, we've been working on this for 8 months, and so far all we've managed to do is change the HR designation to an S designation on the cover page. I'm a little unclear on why it took them 3 additional months to do essentially nothing different than Waxman Markey.
What happens now? I mean, for instance, with the allowances, do you see a lot of wrangling happening right now among the different industrial sectors?
Yeah, I mean, I think the truth of the matter is the reason why it's taking so long is because this is a big, complicated thing, and negotiations go on in private, not during committee markup. So I think it is going to take a long time to sort of flesh out the details. Is
it going to get the support from business with this, because it does not bar the EPA from coming in and regulating carbon?
Well, you'll have to ask them, but from what I've seen so far, the natural gas industry seems much more supportive than they ever were of the House passed bill, so that's a good step. I think you're going to have to check with the utility industry and see what they think of this. And remember, there's going to be more details filled in. Some of the placeholders indicate that there will still be allowances given to the local utility companies to take the values and return that to the ratepayers, as in the House approach. The numbers may differ a little bit, but the concept of making sure that there's a smooth transition for ratepayers remains at the centerpiece of this bill.
Do you see a smooth transition for ratepayers, and what do you see happening economically, Mike, and with electricity costs and rates?
Well, I'm a little concerned about that particular idea. I know it's been sort of the coin of the realm that ratepayers are going to be held harmless here, but the truth of the matter is that the House legislation and the Senate legislation has no specific provision that requires that. And I think that's an issue about which we should have some real clarity. There's nothing in either the House or the Senate right now that requires the value of those allowances to be returned to ratepayers.
Republicans are going to demand that something like that is in there.
Well, I disagree with Mike. My reading of the bill is that, particularly in the House side, but both in the Senate bill too, requires that the local utility companies return the value of the allowances in some form back to their ratepayers.
But we don't know yet how many are being given away.
We do not, but I think that'll become clear in a couple weeks.
On the natural gas side, it looks like there's a lot about power plants, but nothing about transportation. Now, this Nat Gas Act that Senator Reid is all over, Could that become a part of this
Absolutely.
bill?
In fact, we're supporters of the Nat Gas Act, and the reason why it's not part of this bill is that the jurisdiction over that part of that policy is in a different committee. So it would not surprise me at all if the Nat Gas Act, which would boost use of natural gas by heavy vehicles, gets added once the bill gets out of the Environment Committee and before it goes to the floor.
And would that make you happy? And how about the nuclear? It does address the nuclear option for incentives for construction.
Well, I mean, first off, let me agree with Dan. I think if we're going to have natural gas become an important player, a more important player in electricity generation, we're going to need to talk about making it easier to build pipelines, making it easier to permit and run storage fields for natural gas. With respect to nuclear, there's not really a lot in the bill for it, and the purest indication of that was the first Republican senator to attack it today was Lamar Alexander, the most pro-nuclear senator on the Republican side. So, I think there's a lot of chit-chat, but not a lot of substance there.
I would disagree with you, Mike, because the incentive program for natural gas to replace dirty old coal plants would also apply to low-carbon energy created by nuclear power. So there's our incentives to switch from dirty coal to nukes, just like the same incentives to switch from dirty coal to natural gas.
Okay, so what happens from here? Are Republicans going to be able to defeat this bill in committee?
No. Whatever the chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee wants to pass is going to pass that committee. Mm-hmm. I think what's going to surprise people is the Republicans are probably not going to vote against cloture. They're going to look forward to voting for cloture and forcing the Democrats to vote yes or no on this bill very clearly.
That'd be great if the Republicans stopped obstructing clean energy jobs legislation and allowed a vote both to bring up the bill and a free vote to pass it. That would be great, and that would make the likelihood of success that much greater.
Can I peck at that for just 1 second? The Democrats have been in charge in the Congress for 2 years and 9 months now, and it hasn't been the Republicans that took until October 1st to get a bill here. It was Senator Boxer and Senator Kerry who've taken 9 months to get this bill.
Well,
so
Mike,
the Republicans haven't been able to obstruct anything yet.
But that's not so, Mike. Remember last year, Senator John Warner, a conservative Republican, brought his bill to the floor, and it was blocked because of a majority of Republicans opposed voting yes on cloture.
Well, in what respect then are the 45 Democrats who voted against Waxman-Markey in the House guilty of the same obstructionism?
They didn't obstruct anything. The bill passed.
Okay, so what's the best we're hoping for in Denmark in December? Obama goes to Copenhagen with the House-passed bill, and then this one having passed committee? Is that sort of the best we're hoping?
It's too early to tell. It's still possible that the Senate passes this bill before the end of the year. Senator Reid was asked today if this bill was going to come up this year on the floor of the Senate, and his single-word answer was, yep. So that's where things stand today. So hopefully they'll move it forward in the Senate before Copenhagen is completed.
Okay. Any last word, Mike?
Only a fool would guess what's going to happen in the United States Senate.
Dan Weiss, Center for American Progress, Mike McKenna from MWR Strategies, thanks.
Thank you.